There is no doubt that the theme of this morning is obviously on the fig tree. We didn't just hear it in the first hour gospel, but we heard it twice, exactly from the same spot, from St. Mark's gospel, on the first and the third hour. And it's pretty much the theme of the whole day. There is one prophecy, though, that is not in our book. It's mentioned in the intro. Has a vineyard on a very fruitful hill. He dug it up and cleaned out its stones and planted it with the choicest vine. He built a tower in its midst and also made a wine press in it. So he expected it to bring forth good grapes, but it brought forth wild grapes. And now, O inhabitants of Jerusalem and the men of Judah, judge, please, between me and my vineyard. What more could have been done to my vineyard that I have not done in it? Why then, when I expected it to bring forth good grapes, did it bring forth wild grapes? Which is very relevant and very appropriate for introduction and a prophecy for the day of the fig tree. The vine, it produced the wild grapes instead of the good grapes, is mankind. All of us, we insisted, which instead of bringing forth fruits like repentance and love, instead it produced sin and separation. Thus Christ came as the new vine to save us. And that's why we say now we're planted in him, so that we can bear the fruits of repentance and of love. The winepress is the cross. Father Bishoy Kamel had a lovely contemplation. He says, God is pressed on the cross in the most vicious battle in human history. Because it is divine blood. It will always remain on the altar to give power to all the humans to pass over from death to life. So the question that was in this passage is, what more could have been done to my vineyard? And that's the question that all of us are faced today. The Lord is giving us that choice and telling us, what else could I do more? And when I think about it, he said, Lord, you've done a lot already. The fact that we have a lovely church that looks after us, strong, that nourishes us. The fact that we have a church cycle that takes us from birth all the way to the salvation and crucifixion. It's that beautiful cycle that would lead us to this climax of salvation of mankind. We know about the spiritual guides that God have put in our place throughout all our lives until this moment. Having confession fathers that are available at our fingertips. Put in front of us witnesses to him and servants caring for us. And the question remains, what else, Lord, could you do for us if we are not that fruitful? And that brings us to this beautiful barren fig tree, the parable that the Lord mentioned in Luke 13. And it talks about the certain man that had a fig tree planted in the vineyard, and he came seeking fruit and couldn't find, and told the keeper, cut it off. But the keeper told him, he answered and said, Sir, let it be alone this year also, until I dig around it and fertilize it. And if it bears fruit, well, but if not, after that, we can cut it down. And that keeper is giving us another lifeline. There is another lifeline for us this year. And believe it or not, 2020 is an amazing year for the lifeline. I feel the keeper has prepared 2020 specifically for all of us today. We're not just all the above of all what the Lord has done to allow us to be fruitful. On top of that, he's done amazing things, extraordinary actions. We now have so much time on our hands. If you're working from home or if you even lost your job, that means you've got more time on your hand. If you're a student and the term finished early or exam is cancelled, you've got plenty of time on your hand. He removed all life distractions, all of them. For youth, I'm seeing social events and social activities and obligations are wiped out. Less focus on ourselves, less on chores and activities and responsibilities. He told us, this Passion Week is for me. This is maybe our last chance. The keeper has done his job. What are we going to do next? So with the distraction as well, I mean, Passion Week, yes, it is an empty church. But you know what? Your house is the church. You stand in front of the screen and follow every single bit of it without any distraction, without needing to reserve a seat, without needing to worry about car park, without needing to worry about after Good Friday how we're going to feed people. Or all this is now totally and utterly removed away from us. For us to do one thing and only one thing, to be fruitful. That's why the first and the third hour gospel talked about exactly that. It talked about that fig tree, and as you know, it was cursed for one reason, and the reason is it looked like it had fruits. Well, it actually didn't. And that is actually amazingly the theme of this year that our fathers at church thought about the inner life, about how you inside you'll be fruitful. That fruit of love, fruit of care, humility, repentance, unshakable faith, unexplainable joy and peace. That is the fruit that the Lord is asking us to do. So how do we become fruitful? The message is stick to the vine. He is the fruit, he is the one that will keep us going. And we always hear the verse that says, he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water in Psalm 1, that brings forth its fruits in its season, whose leaf also shall not wither, and whatever he does shall prosper. Okay, so then what we expect if we stick to the vine? Well, with Lord's grace, he would overshadow us. But how? I don't know. No one knows exactly. It would be really wrong to put a certain box around what God can do. God has got all power to do whatever. Each one of us might have a different gift. It could be that love, that peace, that joy. It could be humility. It could be anything. But we should not box. We learned that from the Old Testament, from Israelites. When the Israelite whinged and wanted water, they never would have imagined that a rock will bring water, nor food. They would not have imagined that every morning that dew comes this beautiful manna cakes. Or even when they whinged for meat, even Moses didn't know. He said, Lord, how are we going to feed all these people meat? Yet he organized the quail. So it would be really wrong for us today to think about one formula, one thing I'm going to get from a spiritual standpoint, from a fruit perspective. But as a conclusion, all what we need to do is stick to the vine. This week is our chance. The keeper has requested us to have another chance for another year, 2020. Our previous Passion Weeks was gone. Whether we've got something or not, this is the year for us. And that reminds us by waiting for the Lord. And in Isaiah he says, but those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not be faint. And glory be to God.